There's a high school quarterback right here in the great state of West Virginia that could potentially land on the roster for the West Virginia Mountaineers. Who is it? Pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and I'll tell you all about it. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz, and welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Pull that chair up and let me serve you up another shot of top-shelf college football content. On tap in this episode, we are talking about an in-state recruit, a quarterback at that could potentially land on Coach Neal Brown's roster for the 2023 season. Let's get started. So who am I talking about? His name is Grant Cochran. Grant is a 2023 recruit. He's a quarterback at the AAA level right here in the great state of West Virginia. And just like the last player I talked about, he's from right here in my hometown of Princeton, West Virginia, and attends Princeton Senior High School. I'm going to share his highlights with you here as I talk about him and kind of give you my thoughts. Chris Anderson over at earsports.com also did a good write-up on this young man. I will post a link to that in the description box. Grant Cochran is a 6'5", 215-pound quarterback at the AAA level, like I mentioned earlier. Like I also mentioned, he does attend Princeton Senior High School. He was All-State second team as both a sophomore and a senior, and some outlets actually had him as a first-team All-State selection. He actually started as a freshman at Princeton, which is hard to do at the AAA level. Really hard to do at any level of high school football to start as a freshman, but he did. His freshman season, the senior starter went down with a serious injury and was out most of the year. Grant Cochran comes in and never looked back. When he came in, his first start as a true freshman, he actually broke a single-game school passing record, his very first start as a freshman, throwing for 372 yards in a game. He ended up that freshman season breaking the school single-season passing record with 2,027 yards. His sophomore year, he broke both of those records again. His single-game record of 420 yards his sophomore year was a school record, and then he threw for 2,320 yards total for the season, which broke his previous school record that I mentioned earlier. And he also broke a single-season touchdown record his sophomore year with 28 touchdowns. His junior season, he didn't throw the ball quite as much. He threw the ball 100 less times. The team ended up going with a run-first type scheme because that was the strength of their personnel at the time. But he still had a good season. He still broke a single-game record with 444 passing yards in a game and 5 touchdowns, and still completed 65% of his passes. His other stats, his yards and whatnot, were not quite as much because he threw the ball 100 less times his junior year. But nonetheless, he still led his team to the state playoffs that year and actually led them to the state playoffs 3 years in a row, which was the first time in 26 years that Princeton had made the state playoffs 3 years in a row. Princeton has not been known historically as a great football program, but these last 3 years with Grant Cochran at the helm, they've really improved. Now, his senior year, this past year, the 2022 season, once again broke his own record. This time it was the touchdown record, the single-season touchdown record of 29. He broke that once again his senior year. Now, he ended up finishing his career at Princeton, did Cochran, with 8,000 yards, over 8,000 yards passing and over 90 touchdowns. So just a very successful high school career. Will graduate Princeton as the most prolific passer in school history. Some other interesting tidbits about Grant. He's very good in the classroom as well. Just like the previous video I did about his teammate, Eli Campbell, he's also good in the classroom. And he's a multi-sport athlete. He plays both basketball and baseball in high school. And I've actually had a few people tell me that he might be as good, if not better, at baseball than he is football. So just a really good athlete. And then he's also a very good golfer, believe it or not. He wasn't able to play in school because it interfered with football season, but they say he shoots a really low score on the golf course as well. So he's just one of those kids that's good at everything. He's every sport he plays, he's good at it. And he puts in a lot of time too. He's got a work ethic, strong work ethic, puts in the time to get better, as you can probably see in some of these highlights here. You can tell he's put time in perfecting or trying to perfect his craft. Now, he did visit West Virginia a few weeks back, and a few days after his visit, he did receive a preferred walk-on offer from the Mountaineers, from Coach Neal Brown and his staff. Now, he has not accepted that yet because he is mulling that over, along with some scholarship offers he's received from several Division II and even, I think, a few FCS schools. So he has to make up his mind, does he want to go the PWO route at West Virginia or the scholarship route at a smaller school? That's yet to be determined. Personally, I'm leaning towards him probably picking West Virginia for a couple different reasons. Number one, his family, he's had 2 sisters go to school there, so he has family ties to the school. and he grew up. Number two reason, he grew up a West Virginia fan, so this was a dream of his to play at West Virginia. So maybe that helps West Virginia in that regard. Now, as you watch these highlights here, I want to talk about his strengths and weaknesses. I really don't like to talk about weaknesses, especially with these local kids, but I think it's only the fair thing to do. As a content creator, you guys want to, hear both sides, and you want me to be objective. At least I think you do. But his strengths, obviously, his size at 6'5", he can see over the defenses. He has a very quick release. I think he has a very quick release for his age. Most high school kids don't have a release like he has. And what I may have been most impressed with was his footwork. I think he has extremely good footwork, a very above average footwork for a high school player. You can tell he's really, really worked on that part of his game, which has helped his accuracy, which is also really good, especially on deep throws. You can see he throws a really pretty deep ball. He throws a very tight spiral, and he's very accurate with the football. He puts it up where his receivers can go get it. Now, if I want to pick a couple weaknesses, he does have a couple. He's not real fast. Now, he's fast enough. He would be fast enough to where he can, make some plays with his feet if he has to, just scrambling around and things like that. Uh, but he's not a Garrett Green type fast or a Pat White fast by any stretch of imagination. But he can make plays with his feet if he absolutely has to. Now, another weakness I would say would be his velocity. I don't think he quite has Power 5 velocity right now, as far as to be a starter or even a backup at that level. But I think he can develop that, and I think uh, over time, with more time in the weight room at West Virginia, with more time working with top level coaches, he can get to the point where he has Power 5 type velocity. Right now, I just don't think it's not quite there yet. But like there again, that's something he can fix. But I mean, when you look at his footwork, his release, his accuracy, I think all that's there. And once he fixes these other things, and obviously his size, once he fixes these other little tweaks, these other things, obviously the speed's probably not something he can fix. But there again, I don't know that he needs to, because he's not going to be a running quarterback. He's just going to be a quarterback that's going to look to throw the ball, maybe look to do a few little RPO here and there, and run the ball only if he absolutely has to. And he will be able to pick up a few yards for you on the ground, I think. And he's also a strong kid. He's a tough kid. He's a strong kid. He can run through tackles. Uh, he's not afraid of contact. So, and matter of fact, he even played defensive end his senior year for Princeton. So, he's a tough kid, and he's not afraid to take a hit or give a hit. So, not necessarily what you want out of your quarterback, but at times it's needed if you need to pick up a first down. But anyway, I want to hear your thoughts. Couz's Corner family, what do you think about this young man? Do you think he has what it takes to eventually earn a scholarship at West Virginia? I wish this young man the best. I want him to find success, whether he picks West Virginia or not. Obviously, I'll bleed gold and blue, but I want to see these young kids succeed college level, regardless of what school they pick, whether it's West Virginia, even if it's Marshall or Virginia Tech or a rival school. I want to see these young players be successful. That's the number one thing. That being said, Couz's Corner family, I want to hear your thoughts on this young man. What do you think about him? Would you like to see the Mountaineers get a commitment from him and ultimately see him sign on the dotted line to play for the old gold and blue? Also, please support my channel financially. If you're watching this on Monday, January 30th, it's not too late. You have through the end of today to get 20% off in my merch store. Take advantage of this offer right now. You can get yourself a hoodie, a T-shirt, ball cap, a coffee mug, all kinds of different products to choose from, several different designs to choose from. You see pictures of my merch at the bottom underneath the description box. Click on one of those photos. It takes you right into my merch store. There's also a link in my description box at the top of my description box. There's a link to the Fanatic store as well in my description box. Click on that. It'll get you in a Fanatic store. Anything you buy from that point on, I'll make a small commission from it. You can make a one-time donation by hitting the heart thanks option right below. There's also links to PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App in the description box if you want to do it that way. Last but not least, you can support me absolutely free and very easy. You can hit the thumbs up button below if you like this content. You can subscribe to my channel. Help me get to 5,000 subscribers by April 1st. You share this out with your friends. Ask them to subscribe as well. And last but not least, you can leave a comment below, like I mentioned earlier. Let me know what you think about this young player. All of that helps out my channel, helps the YouTube algorithm, gets my video promoted to more people. And with that being said, I really appreciate you tuning in to this episode. And until the next one, you country roads.